We've got some breaking news coming out right now that the question about this breaking news is going to impact our economy. We have Chris Woodward from onenewsnow.com. One News Now, Chris being the business reporter over there at One News Now. And I hope all of you check in with onenewsnow.com on a very regular basis. Chris, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me again.
Sure.
The breaking news at this moment, the headlines, Dan, one of them on USA Today, Supreme Court legalizes same-sex marriage. Another headline says Supreme Court strikes down bans on same-sex marriage. The Associated Press in one of their alerts says Supreme Court says same-sex couples have the right to marry in all 50 states. Fox News said as much a minute ago, live on air. Reading from the Associated Press now, Dan, it says the Supreme Court has declared that same-sex couples have a right to marry anywhere in the United States. And it goes on to say that gay and lesbian couples already can marry in 36 states and the District of Columbia. The court's ruling on Friday means the remaining 14 states in the South and Midwest will have to stop enforcing their bans on same-sex marriage. That, again, is how the Associated Press phrases things.
And, of course, they're citing the 14th Amendment. Sure. And when you read the 14th Amendment, I don't see anything in there about gay marriage. I mean, I understand what they're saying. I guess they're saying that, no state has the right to enforce a law that abridges the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States.
Right.
And that's what they're saying. The state is depriving a person's life, liberty, and prosperity as a result of this. So very, very interesting, Chris. I think this, from a financial perspective, is going to impact, obviously, some of the debt issues in America. Mm-hmm. Their argument from the left on that is, well, yeah, but it's probably going to increase tax revenues. It is probably going to, because now I assume under the IRS rules, you're going to be filing jointly. That is going to lower the tax base that is coming in from two people filing on single. So that's a negative from a financial perspective. Mm-hmm. I would assume now that Social Security, whether they like it or not, is going to have to consider survivor benefits for a same-sex couple, and also all the rights that are given to a divorced couple when it comes to particularly 401k distributions, IRA distributions, is also going to be impacted on this. So on and on it goes. So there's going to be a lot of financial wrangling going back and forth and how this is negatively affecting from a financial perspective. But listen, the big perspective is it is another and further erosion of the moral fiber of this country, in my opinion. And it is a further erosion of an ignoring of God's plan for marriage.
It's interesting. You were bringing all those points up. Yesterday on his Washington Watch program, Tony Perkins of FRC had the president of Oklahoma Wesleyan University, Dr. Everett Piper, on to talk about the concerns or questions about what a ruling in favor of same-sex marriage would mean for the tax-exempt status at not only Christian colleges, but also churches and just the church at large. Dr. Piper, again, the president of Oklahoma Wesleyan University, warns that this would not be just a problem for Christian colleges or universities, but certainly churches, denominations, what have you. And certainly, I'm not a lawyer, but I would imagine somebody out there is going to make that case. And certainly, something that was widely reported during the oral arguments over marriage back in March or April, one of the justices asked the Solicitor General that was arguing on behalf of the federal government here what this would mean for the tax-exempt status at religious institutions. So we're going to see a lot on this, not just on the ruling, but certainly the concerns from religious groups, religious institutions, nonprofits, going forward, groups that have not, paid taxes now. The government might, or at least someone in the government might want them to start paying up.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to watch that and see that, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see some pushback from for-profit corporations as well. That's going to enter into it, and I would expect that we're going to see lawsuits from both sides of that argument both sides of that, from both corporate and nonprofit organizations. The one issue that is not being considered, and I think of, as Dr. Piper speaks about those things, it's not being considered, is you've got to remember that any ruling against some issues with nonprofit and religious organizations is also going to impact nonprofit organizations like Planned Parenthood, like the Red Cross.
Right.
So it is going to impact some very strong liberal lobbies in Washington, D.C. So it is going to be a very difficult thing from a legal perspective for them to navigate through that, though they would like to punish religious organizations, religious universities and such. They're also going to have to take into consideration those other nonprofit and non-religious nonprofits.
And I think, too, it's a given that there are going to be some lawsuits across the board from people maybe across both sides of the aisle here. But certainly those things are going to take a long time to play out. The court is about to go into its summer break, which means even if those things were to be heard by the Supreme Court in the next session, it's going to be October, November before we even hear that they're going to decide that. And even then, it might be next June before we get a decision, assuming that goes straight to the Supreme Court, which it's probably going to play out in the federal court system. There's going to be appeals when people don't like the ruling that comes down, and then it'll come out to the Supreme Court.
Well, Chris, there used to be a thing that was called separation of powers. The executive branch, the Capitol Hill, and the judicial branch. I don't know about you, but boy, they sure seem like they're merging every single day.
Sure.
And at least, starting out merging from an ideological perspective, now just continue to see a merger of that. Very, very sad. Very sad.
And since you bring that up, just to bring some comfort to those out there listening to the program, watching on television, there is a hymnal, goes back years, decades, maybe even more than that. But, are you weary? Are you heavy-hearted? Tell it to Jesus.
Amen. Yep. Sure appreciate you, Chris. Thank you. Thank you for breaking in with us. I do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
OneNewsNow.com, folks, for more coverage on this. And lots of other stories, but more coverage on this. Go to onenewsnow.com. I'm sure they are, as we speak, putting up the articles and posting the commentary in reference to all of this. OneNewsNow.com. OneNewsNow.com. Check it out.